Hey everybody, it's Clint. Welcome back. This is my second time trying to do this podcast. I went through the whole thing about an hour and 10 minutes, hour 20 minutes yesterday. And there was a point about 4 or 5 minutes in where I needed to stop to adjust the microphone boom. And when I restarted, I guess something happened with GarageBand. So when I went to save everything to disk, it saved a full-length MP3, but the file was empty from 5 minutes onward. So I talked to myself for about an hour last night. But that's okay because there were a couple of things after I finished that I had forgotten to talk about, and then there were a lot of things that I had talked about that I probably really didn't need to. I had repeated myself several times, so that's not saying that I won't do the same thing right now, but anyways, gotta do what I gotta do. So here we are. This is the 5th episode of a Runnin Thought podcast, and this time I wanted to talk about some cool things that happened this week, and then also share some more tips for ultra runners, aspiring ultra runners out there. So first of all, I'll talk about this week. There were a couple of cool things that happened. I guess I'll start with the I guess more recent ones, and then move back to last Sunday. So we had a big hike last Sunday, but so yesterday I found out that one of my coworkers is leaving, and I don't really know this person super well, but we were in a work group together, and I noticed that she had a really familiar skull on her hydro flask. It was a skull sticker, and it had the little dudes high-fiving, like the silhouette of the little guys high-fiving in the nose part of the skull. And so I thought that was a Venture Brothers sticker, but it didn't say Venture Brothers. It was just the skull. So I wondered about it, and then the next day we were in the same work group, and I asked her, and she said, yeah, Venture Brothers. And I was like, no way, because I used to watch that on Adult Swim a long time ago. I don't even know how old that cartoon is. If you've never seen it, it's worth a look. It's pretty clever little cartoon. But anyway, so that's the way I met this person. And so you don't meet people that watch Venture Brothers every day. But anyways, so we don't have like a very frequent back and forth dialogue at work, but I found out that she is leaving. So that was a bummer. I don't ever see her anyway at work, hardly, but it's always a bummer when somebody's leaving. That is kind of cool, especially if they like Venture Brothers, if it's something like that. But anyway, I digress. She's taken off, and in her email, because I had sent her an email and say, hey, hadn't talked to you in a while, heard you're leaving, good luck. And she sent me one back. I think I'll probably see you around, because she's going to be doing work for a company, I guess, that will maybe be on premise or whatever, where I still work at. But so yeah, we'll probably bump into each other again at some point, but or maybe we won't. Maybe I totally misunderstood that part. But anyways, I sent her a link to this podcast. Number one, because she may be the only other person that is listening to it right now. hopefully I didn't scare away everybody else, but just in case, I wanted to have one more listener. But then also, it was just kind of a thing. Like I've got the podcast, and if you ever want to hear me talk about not that much, then you can always find me here. So wasn't expecting her to actually listen to it, but she wrote back later, hey, I'm listening to your podcast, and it's good. I've got she said that I have interesting content, and that my voice sounds good. So that made me totally happy, because I kind of think the opposite. Like, my content is not that interesting, and my voice is not that great to me. So having somebody else kind of give me that affirmation was awesome. And so thank you to her, and good luck to her in her next endeavor. I'm sure she'll be fine. So that was one cool thing that happened. The second cool thing that happened is, after work yesterday, I went to my normal running place, and I hadn't gone running for about almost a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I did not go, because I was just giving myself a little rest. The Garmin was telling me that I was actually detraining, so I decided to listen to the Garmin, because I felt kind of rough, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I didn't really feel that rough, but I felt like I needed to recover a little bit more. But yeah, so I did get to go running yesterday. I saw Willie Nelson in the parking lot. And so if you have listened to previous podcasts, you know that Willie Nelson is not the Willie Nelson, but Willie Half Nelson, the chicken with a gimp leg that walks as if only half of its body is working. So I saw her. I'm pretty sure it's a hen and not a rooster. I saw her yesterday, and I got to throw her a piece of beef jerky, and she ate it. So I feel like we're making progress in our friendship. So there you go. But that's not the cool thing that happened. I mean, that is a cool thing, but that's not the cool thing that happened yesterday. So I go to the, of course, like after work, I go change my clothes at Boiling Pots, and then I go up to the parking lot, and I'll usually kind of procrastinate a little bit before I get started. I like to trick my body into actually doing physical activity. So I'll start off with a little bit of procrastination at the start of it, like filling my water bottles kind of slowly, making sure to check that my glove box is locked about 5 times, tying and retying my shoes, making sure the truck door is absolutely locked on both sides at least 2 times. So those kind of shenanigans. So I usually do that, and then I'll start walking, and I'll walk for about the first half mile, 3/4 of a mile, just as kind of a warm up, just to let everything like get tricked into thinking that we're going for a walk. And then right at about 0.60 miles, I'll kick in to some running, and then it's just it's pedal to the metal it's as pedal to the metal as I can possibly get from then on. But yeah, so I'm procrastinating in the parking lot as usual before my run, and a car pulls in, and then a Jeep pulls in, which I can only assume was full of tourists, And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that that's what they were. They were here on vacation, possibly. They could have been from the other side of the island or from another island or whatever. I don't know. But like I said, I don't mean it in a negative way. But they had never been to this place before. And I know that because as I was fiddling around with my phone, one of the ladies from that party asked me if I was going up to Narnia. And so I think I've described Narnia before. Narnia is not the actual name of the place. It does have a real name, which I cannot pronounce. Starts with a P, and you can definitely look that up. It's on Google. It's up Waianui Avenue, past Boiling Pots on the left-hand side. So, anyways, the lady asked me, "Are you going up to Narnia?" And I said, not, well, yeah. I said in probably the what sounded like the most pretentious way to her, yes, I come up here to run every day. Okay, so it's kind of like that joke. How do you know if somebody's a pilot? Yeah, I forgot that joke. I would actually have to look it up. But anyways, oh yeah. That's what it is. What's the difference between God and a pilot? God doesn't think he's a pilot. Nothing against pilots, but that's a joke. And you can kind of switch that with anything. So how do you know the difference between God and a runner? God doesn't think he's a runner. So, yeah, so I dropped that bombshell on her that I was going to go run that day, like I do every day. And as you can probably imagine, her impressed level was at 0. And she kind of says, well, is it safe up there today? To which I have no clue because I haven't been up there the whole week. The last time I went, which was probably like last Friday, maybe. I don't think I went on Saturday. I might have gone on Saturday, but definitely last Friday. And it was super muddy water and very, very, it was flash flooding. It was not even flash flooding. It was continuously flooding, like really full, really dangerous. But it hadn't been raining that much for the rest of the week. So, or the rest of this week. So, I didn't think it was probably going to be that bad, but I did kind of wince and say, "You guys aren't going in the water, are you?" And she says, "Yeah, we're thinking about it." And I just let her know, be careful because you never know, like flash flooding, especially if the sky's dark between here and the mountain. And there's a thing that people do, and I do it too, when they hear what you said, but they didn't want to hear what you just said. And so I get it. Like they're here on vacation and all they want to do is go to the place with all the waterfalls and jump into the water and just be in this water around all the waterfalls in Hawaii. And I got to say, like out of all the things that you could possibly do in Hilo, that's probably one of the best things that you could possibly do in Hilo. I said it's one of the best things. I didn't say it's the best, and I did say in Hilo. So let's just remember that I did qualify that statement. But yeah. So I think she was bummed that I said maybe don't jump in. I didn't really go in depth, so there's a reason that I tell people to be careful. I believe it was 2018. There was actually a nurse from the hospital that I work at, and she was here. I think she lived in Chicago. She was here as a traveler, I believe, and so she would have been here for like a few months and then gone somewhere else. So that happens quite often. That's a pretty a pretty common situation. There's a lot of traveler nurses in our facility. But anyway, she was here only temporarily, and I, I'm real foggy on the details. I don't know if anybody really knows all of the details. She was up at the same falls with another person, and both of them were swimming in the Wailuku River around the waterfalls. A flash flood came and swept them. Well, the person she was with was able to swim to shore, according to the news article that I read, but the nurse was swept away, and I think she went missing in January of 2018, and they found her body, I believe, in February. I think that's correct. I may be wrong on that, but the thing is, by understanding from what I've been told, sometimes there is no body recovery because the way the ground is here, it's all formed from lava flows. So you have all these gases that create caverns, and they'll create tubes beneath the surface. And so you may have underneath these waterfalls or underneath the river at certain points tubes that go down into the ground, but there may be no end to those tubes. And even if there were, the amount of damage that a human body would incur while it's being beat around through these tubes, even if you did come out on the other side, who knows how long this tube is too, by the way. You're not going to be in good shape if you're even alive at all. So, not to be dramatic, but and most people don't get hurt, and most people don't go missing. And I see people jumping off the waterfall all the time, and that's all fine and good. And I don't want to hamper that in any way, shape, or form. But just my advice to everybody that goes to this area is to be careful. I pretty much add that in to anybody that asks. But so now I've gone into this whole sidebar conversation, but the point of it is, I guess there is some utility in this sidebar, is if you come to Hilo and you want to go to the waterfalls, be careful. All right. And then I guess while I'm here, I'll go ahead and do a PSA. So the first public service announcement is leave your trash in your car, because a lot more people are coming to this area now. And I've noticed in the last few, like maybe year and a half, the amount of trash has also increased too. And it's a shame. Hawaii has an issue with dumping. So people dump trash in pretty much everywhere. So you will see that. It's sad to see an area that was once, for the most part, pristine, now be littered with your run-of-the-mill paper plates, candy wrappers, and then also even clothes now. I'm finding people are just leaving clothes. I don't understand that. It must be nice, I guess, to be able to just leave your clothes. And maybe they're just losing them. I don't know. It could happen. Or maybe they have to go to the bathroom and they're using them for something and they don't want them anymore, which in that case, gross. And there's bathrooms around. Like you can find a bathroom within a mile of this place. So go to the bathroom before you come up there. And then also take your clothes with you and take your trash. Don't even bring it. Just leave it in your car. There's no reason. The waterfalls are only 1.5 miles from the parking lot. You don't need to bring a bunch of candy wrappers and stuff anyway. Yeah. So stop that. And then if you're one of the people that dumps stuff in this place, I don't really care whether you live here or not. Shame on you, and don't let me see you do it. But anyways, yeah, that's my PSA. Don't do that. If you see trash and you got something to put it in, pick it up and take it out with you. I've picked up, tires and all kinds of different stuff at this place. It's a shame. And the irony of it is, like, if you live here, not trash collection, but the actual like transfer stations, you can just take your trash and dump it there. There's no cost for regular household trash, but people just throw their stuff on the side of the road. It's a shame. But anyways, yeah, so there's that. Back to the story. Sorry for the sidebar and the PSA. Just be careful, pick up your trash. That's all. So I'm dawdling around. This lady's asked me about the waterfall. I know that they're going to go anyway, no matter what I say. And they're going to jump in the water anyway, no matter what I say. And, more power to them. My general philosophy out on the trail, or just really anywhere in life, is no matter how bad I want to, and I usually don't want to that bad, I try to not worry myself with what other people are doing. And I try to not worry myself with what other people are thinking. If they don't like me, fine. If they like me, fine. If they are doing something that I consider bad, stupid, ill-advised, fine. I default to not intervening and just letting them find out on their own. Most of the time, they're not going to kill themselves, and they're going to either learn their lesson or they're going to get off scot-free and not incur any damage or whatever. So I just let people be people. And so if they're roaming around lost, I let them roam around lost, because maybe that's what they want to do. I'm the kind of person that I purposely drive to the middle of nowhere, and I go out on a long excursion, and getting lost for me is sometimes part of the experience. It's not something that I love to do. It's not something that I set out to do, but if it happens, I can figure my way out of it. And so I try to let other people also have that freedom. I think it's good for people. I think it's a good lesson for people to learn to not depend on their smartphones to get them out of a triple canopy jungle or a desert area where there's no phone reception and all of the terrain looks exactly the same, and the trail that you're on looks like every other bit of your surroundings, especially at dark. I think that these are good lessons to learn, and so that's just me. But generally, I try to keep my opinions and my influence out of other people's lives and just let them do whatever. So if you see me on the trail, I'm usually going to kind of wave my, kind of do a peace sign, or I used to do shakas, but then I kind of figured that that's kind of corny for a white guy to do shakas to everybody that he sees. I think, like a peace sign or kind of an indifferent sort of waving gesture is probably, fine. Because I don't ever know how people are going to react. I don't ever know if people want to interact or not. Most people are cool, but then some people, they don't. And so it's not even worth my time. So I just default to just letting people do what they do. But I say all that to say this. If you come up to me on the trail and you're asking for directions, it's kind of a crapshoot, right? Because sometimes I'm out there and I just want to be left alone. And that's no fault of yours. And that has nothing to do with, it's more of it's more dependent on what kind of day I've had, how my life's going at that point. And sometimes I just don't want to talk to people and I just want to go out there and blow off some steam, So I don't hate anybody, or I don't dislike tourists. I don't dislike people that are lost or whatever. But the thing is, like, sometimes I just need to get out, and I don't want to have a bunch of conversations while I'm trying to do my thing. I don't feel self-important. I just running is kind of a coping thing for me, and it kind of helps me get through the week sometimes. But so anyway, I'm not trying to be super unfriendly. Know that deep down I love you as a human, I guess, and I want you to be safe and okay, and yeah. But anyways, so I said all that because it helps to illustrate why the day went like it did. So these people, they get their stuff together, and I'm, getting my stuff together, getting ready to go out on my run. And I take off about the same time that they do. I end up going down a couple spurs that lead off of the main trail, just because it adds a little bit of distance to the overall, and I've still got kind of a closer proximity to my vehicle, just in case I need to get back to my truck for any reason. I don't like to run real far away from my vehicle, like on a weekday when, it might get dark, or, inclement weather might move in, or whatever, I get hurt or whatever. And I don't really like the idea of being hurt in the dark, trying to get back to my truck from far away. So I go down these spurs on the weekdays, especially, just to add a little bit of distance and kind of close proximity to my vehicle. So I go down the first spur, I come out, I meet up with the group again. At this point, we're both, me and this party of people, we're both pretty far away from the main waterfalls that people usually go to. So I don't really think anything of it, just, pass around them and going up the hill. And I could hear them kind of like snickering and giggling. I like to think that they were doing that because I was running up the hill and they were walking. It could very well be that it's because of my dad bod and how not like somebody that runs almost every day should actually look. And maybe everything that's jiggling, they could have been laughing at that too. And if they were, then that's okay. That's, when you go running in nothing but shorts and shoes and, no shirt, you have to kind of, you gotta roll with the punches and kind of take it as it comes. So that's on me. But anyway, so I pass them, and then I actually get up to the turn off where you go down to the main waterfalls that most people go to, about 1.5 miles in. And I come back out, and then I pass them. But so when I pass them, again, this is already past where the spur is that goes down to the waterfalls where most people go. Now, I didn't think much about it because on this particular trail, there's many different places that people like to stop and jump into the water. And this this gravel road slash trail, goes up from the first little turn off to where you can go to like jump off this little cliff. A lot of people go to this place where there's a bunch of waterfalls. Sorry, you can hear the cuckoo clock in the background. But so there's a bridge after that people sometimes go down. They kind of hike under and then out, and then there's a little tiny waterfall that sometimes people sit in front of. And if you keep going up, there's all kinds of places that are off the trail that you can't really see from the trail. You can hear the falls, but they're not really visible. But if you will kind of hack your way through a bunch of undergrowth, you can get to the river from almost any part of the trail. And then you'll cross a couple dams about four or five and maybe 6 miles up. I think all together, round trip, I think you can do about 14 miles. I might be wrong on that. It's been a while since I did a up and back just on this one straight shot. A lot of times I'll add so many spurs into that I don't really know. I can't really remember what the distance is from just straight up bottom to top, without deviating. But anyways, so there's several places, there's several dams and other little waterfall areas that you can go besides the main one that most people go to. And most people go to that one because number one, it's close. And then number two, there's probably, I don't know, like 5 or 6 waterfalls that are of decent size that are right concentrated in one area. But so I pass them again, and they're already past that popular area. But I don't think anything of it because maybe they just don't want to go there because there's too many people. They think there's too many people down there or something. They just want to go somewhere more less crowded. So I pass them. But I'll be honest, full disclosure, I kind of know deep in my heart that they probably don't want to do that. They probably did want to go to the popular area, but like I said before, and I don't mess with people when I'm out there. I just, I got my job to do, and I figure like they'll figure it out for themselves. They'll have a little adventure, and they'll be okay. I'll see them again, on my way back down. So I did see them again on my way back down, and at that point I had already gone up ahead of them probably like 1.5 miles and then come back down. And as I'm running towards them, I'm thinking like, I think they need help. And right about the time I thought that, the same lady, she asked me, "Are we getting close?" And I said, that depends on where you're going. Where are you trying to get to? And she says, well, we just want to, I think she said something like, we just want to, we're trying to get to the waterfalls. And so I said, well, I told her just what I said just now. There's plenty of waterfalls all along the trail, but it's just a matter of getting to them. And, as I'm explaining, she pulls out her phone, she shows me a picture of the place, and it's the place, the popular place, the Narnia place that most people think of when they think of this area. And so I told him, go back down the hill, and then you're going to cross over the bridge, cross over the cattle guard, and then you'll take a left after that, and then you're there. You're good to go. And it's only, it's less than 1 mile to this place. And so I left him with that. And not a whole lot was said. I think they probably said thank you or whatever. I mean, they were nice people. I don't want to give the impression that they were like snobby, and I also don't want to give the impression that I was, curt with them or anything. It was cordial conversation both ways, but But so I'm headed back down, and I'm thinking, I've seen a lot of people not know where they're going out here, and just, I know me, when I get directions from someone, sometimes I have a little problem with remembering exactly what they said. So as I'm going back down, I grab some sticks, and I kind of make a little arrow on the ground that points down to the waterfalls. And I run down that spur because I'm just trying to add some more distance to my run. And I'm coming back up, and it's pretty out of character for me. Usually putting that arrow down to show them where to go was like was more than I would probably typically even make the effort to do. But in this case, I felt like, these are pretty nice people, and they had an issue. And, like I said before, I love people as humans. That doesn't mean that some people don't get on my nerves, but, I try to look at it like, everybody's just we're just trying to live. And why make it hard on other people, or harder than it needs to be? So, but, at the same time, when I'm out there, usually I'm out there just to, focus and get my run done, and then get the heck out of there before it gets dark. But yeah, so I built the arrow, went down, and then I'm coming back up, and I don't see them. So I'm thinking, maybe they're like me. Maybe I just told them those simple directions, but then they didn't remember, or, something, and that they misunderstood and thought I meant, go back up the hill some more, which would have them walking forever. So I ran back up the hill, and then I finally ran into them again, and I let them know about the stick that I'd laid down. And it was kind of awkward. I mean, maybe that was, at that point was overkill to tell them about the sticks that I had laid down. Like, I don't know, maybe they thought that I was trying to garner some kind of attaboys or something, pat on the back for putting down a stick arrow to show them. But, that wasn't the case at all. But yeah, so I told them that I laid the sticks down. I reiterated the instructions, very simple. And then I added that I had seen a lot of people get lost on the way back to their vehicles. So just kind of stick to the paved routes, and they should be fine. And so, they were thankful. I forget exactly what all was said, but as I'm departing them, one of the ladies says something. I'm paraphrasing because it's been a busy day, and I've forgotten most of yesterday. But she says something like, "We applaud your physical fitness efforts," which I don't know if that was a backhanded compliment, or if she was really trying to articulate that, I was doing a good job. But anyway, I appreciated it, and I kind of waved as I was running off. I take the compliments for sure, but knowing how to respond to them, I don't really often, I don't think, get that many. So I'm kind of self-conscious or bashful when somebody says something nice. And two, I usually don't talk to people, so I'm very socially awkward. But so as I'm running off, I waved to him, and that was a cool thing, like that whole interaction. I'm sorry that they had to go a little bit farther than they anticipated, but I think that probably it doesn't matter that much anyway. They got to walk in a pretty nice little forested area, and um, they didn't go that far, and they got turned around and back on course. So I hope they did get to go and get in the water if that's what they wanted, and I hope they're all safe now, um, and having a good time, which is really not a hard thing to do, but it's really it's getting kind of interesting because of the coronavirus stuff. So I hope everybody will be okay with that too. It's not hitting Hawaii bad yet. I think there's 2 confirmed cases on Oahu, and then I don't think that there's any on Big Island yet. But my understanding of the virus is that it multiplies quickly, so the cases increase exponentially every couple days, every 4 days or so. So it has the potential to be really, really serious, and I hope that anybody that's traveling here, or anybody anywhere, I hope that this thing will resolve. And I hate to see the news about people dying or people being hospitalized because of this, but anyway, so hope everybody is okay, takes care, and is having as good of a time as they possibly can. But yeah, so sorry if that whole story was a letdown. It was just a cool thing to me because I actually talk to people, and for me that's a big step, because I usually don't. I keep to myself. There's a lot of reasons for that. I won't go into them, but my life's been interesting, and yeah, we'll leave it at that. So the third cool thing that happened, we so me and my family and 2 friends, we got to go hike out Helena Pali trail on Sunday. And so I've got a coworker, and for some reason she is interested in kind of what I do as far as like running ultras and just running in general. And I think that it's cool that she's interested. I definitely think that there are more interesting people for sure that do this than me, but she's a super nice person, and I think I won't say that she's going through a hard time, because I don't know that. I would assume so, but it seemed to me at one point, I think I mentioned that she's a coworker, but it seemed to me at one point while we were at work that maybe she needed something, and I suggested this to her also. Maybe she needs something in her life other than work. She needs a thing to be there when work is not going satisfactorily, or when work is a letdown, to kind of fall back on, or to focus on, or to get some sort of what do you call it, like clarity from. Because I know for me, going out and having these kind of small accomplishments, the big accomplishments for me, menial small accomplishments in the grand scheme of things, and even in relationship to what other people are doing. But like I said before, I don't try to compare myself to other people. I just kind of do me, and I know for me what works best is consistently being out on a trail, and kind of blowing off steam. So I had suggested this to her, and what I had suggested was a hike. And I have done the Helena Poly Overlook Trail before by myself. I think at least once or twice. Well, actually, so I've done it before by myself, and then I actually took my son when he was 5. Not all the way down, but I took him. I think I took him all the way down the kind of ridge portion of it, which is at the very beginning, and then back up because he was only 5. But this time we hiked Helena Poly all the way out to Ka'aha. So we were going towards Ka'aha. Now we didn't get all the way to the end of the trail, but we got most of the way. But hang on, let me back up a minute so I can finish rounding out this the setup for the story. So coworker had invited her to go, and so immediately after I invited her to go and she kind of accepted, I realized that it might be awkward to go to this remote area, especially like in today's in the world that we live in today, in the environment that we live in. I thought it might be awkward to go with a female coworker and male coworker into this remote area. And although we work in close proximity every day, we don't work on the same projects, so there's not a lot of dialogue between us. So how much do we really know about each other? We really don't. And I can totally empathize from a female perspective, like maybe not being so comfortable going out into the middle of nowhere with some person that you only know from work. So immediately after inviting her and her accepting, I tried to get more people to come. So I it's a no-brainer. Invited my wife and asked her if she wanted to come, and she did. And just to kind of even things out, I had invited 2 more people. One of them was not able to show up, but another one was a friend of mine that I met about a year ago while I was running up at Narnia. I think he had just moved here recently. He had lived on other islands before, but he had just moved to Big Island, and he was an interesting person, like right from the get-go. I knew, and if you've ever seen me in real life, or you know who I am, then you know that I'm a pretty different looking person. I guess there's definitely some kind of story behind me. I don't know if you can really discern what that story is. Probably, it's a pretty crazy story if you're just going off of how I look. But anyways, so met him on the trail, liked him, just kind of became, I guess, we're not best friends. I guess it's a little too early to say we're best friends forever. I don't know if we'll ever achieve that, because I think I get on his nerves sometimes, or maybe all the time. I don't know. But we definitely have some pretty interesting conversations, and I mean, I like hanging out with the guy, so I definitely wanted him to come. And he's got some, like, so he doesn't do a lot of strenuous physical activity. He's not super into it. I won't say he doesn't do it, because his job, I think, probably demands it, but like voluntary strenuous physical activity, probably not the biggest fan of that ever. But definitely experience. I think he'd done some hikes. I don't remember if he hiked the PCT or if it was another trail, but he's definitely done some things in his life, and I know he does a lot of burpees now, so that counts for something. But but yeah, so invited him and um, my coworker, and they both accepted. And so, the jury was out. I don't know if that phrase applies here. Sometimes I say stuff and I don't really actually know what the phrase means, and then I have to go Google it and make sure that what I said was actually what I just meant to say. So just if that doesn't fit, if the jury is still out, doesn't fit in this sentence, then forgive me and let's move on with our lives. But the jury was out on whether either of these two individuals were gonna come through and actually go on this hike, or whether they were going to pull out at the last minute and make up some excuse not to go. So things were not looking very good for one of them. I think they had just had one of those weeks where everything was going to crap, and they were busy, and all of the things that typically arise when you're about to embark on a 18-mile round trip hike into the middle of nowhere, where only helicopters can rescue you and back. So we get to Sunday and everything's still green light, everything's still go. I'm making my presentation. I'm making my preparations, kind of cleaning up the old hydro flasks, and I've got a problem with leaving the scratch water in the hydro flask and not cleaning those suckers out every single day. And so if you don't do that, eventually what happens is you start growing stuff inside them. So your bottle becomes a science project. And so some of mine were that way, but since I was cleaning one, I decided, and since this was a pretty long hike and there were potentially, 5 or 6 people going on this thing, I cleaned out every water containing vessel that I had with, good old elbow grease and a long soak in a little cap full of bleach and a bunch of water and some vinegar overnight. But I don't know if that's the proper cleaning method, or if that's even good for hydropack and stuff, like the little crushable soft flasks that come with all the Solomon stuff, or the 1 or 2 liter backpack water containers or whatever. But anyway, that's how I clean them. So it got them clean. They were fine. What was my point? Yeah, so I'm making final preparations, and I'm just waiting on a phone call from somebody to tell me some reason why they can't go, or whatever. But that never happened. Sunday came along, and my coworker met us at our house, and then we drove together out to Volcano National Park. And as we got out to the campground that's close to the trailhead, I didn't see my friend's vehicle, and I couldn't tell if it was because it was obscured by trees or because that person just was not there. Just a little frame of reference: this person does not like to get up early, and also had expressed some concern with the elevation and also the overall distance of this hike. Just, I think mainly the protest was that they were in no type of physical conditioning to be attempting such a thing. And they had also had a hard week, but I don't think that was ever made as an excuse, which is good, because that's the worst. I think if you've had a hard week, that's the best time to go on an 18-mile hike and just get away from everything. Some would disagree, but whatever. It's my podcast. So yeah, he ended up being there. Like at the last minute, we come around a corner, and his vehicle was obscured by like I guess trees or something, and then we see him standing there, and he had been waiting like right on time. We were a little bit late because we had to stop and do some stuff. But yeah, he was dressed to the nines in all of his best, his finest outdoor gear. It was super windy. No, I won't say it was super windy. It was normally as windy as it is at this place, which is pretty windy. And it was a little bit cold because it was early in the morning. But so I guess it was about 8-ish. It was around 8 when we met. And I know I just said that it was early in the morning. It wasn't that early, but it was kind of early for a Sunday, you know what I mean? But we all end up being there, which was awesome. That's the most awesome thing that can possibly happen, is everybody starts off, and then, equally as awesome everybody finishes, of course. But sometimes it's hard to convince people to even get them to the start of these kind of things, especially when it's something so long and it's a technical hike. So we started out, and I forgot to mention that my son also came on this one. That's kind of like the highlight of this whole story for me. Like I think all of us went on our own little personal voyage that day, but I saw the most growth happen in the shortest amount of time with my son. But I had originally thought that he was going to go to one of his friend's house for the day, and then it would just be us adults hiking out, because this is a pretty technical trail, and it's even more technical since the lava flows and all of the seismic activity following those lava flows of 2018. A lot of rocks have, there's been landslides, and a lot of the trail is just barely hanging on. And the first part of it, and also the last part of it on the return trip, is about a 3,500 foot elevation change, basically all at once. So you're basically going down, more or less straight down this ridge, and then more or less straight back up this ridge on the way back. So it's not super designed for children, and but I was pretty confident that, so my son actually ended up not having plans to go to a friend's house, and I was a little bit concerned, but that eventually waned when I thought about it. We had 4 adults going, and then not that I really retain that much medical knowledge anymore, but I used to be a corpsman in the Navy, so I've got a little bit of skill. I can stop bleeding and all of the first aid things that one might need to do. And of course, 4 adults with 4 cell phones, and even my son had his cell phone. So as long as we could get enough reception to text, then we would be gold as far as like trying to contact emergency personnel if anything happened. And then too, my wife is in the medical field, and so she deals primarily with people's faces, I guess you would say, ear, nose, and throat, but she's got knowledge above mine for sure, if anything were to happen. So after considering all that, I didn't feel as bad about bringing our son, and since he had done the hard part of it when he was only 5, and now he's 10, I didn't think that it would I knew it would be a challenge, but I didn't think it would put anybody in danger. So he came with us, and I guess I'll describe the trail a little bit before I get into like the rest of the hike. So it was me, my wife, my son, my friend that I met on the trail about a year previous, and then my colleague, who I think this was like one of her first long hikes. I think I might be wrong on that. Like I said, we don't exactly like talk that much either. So this was more of kind of like just getting her out and doing something to get her mind off of all the nonsense that is going on with her. You know, so it's all of us. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, describing the trail. So if you pull up Google Maps or whatever you're looking on, all trails or whatever, the place that we went is called Helena Pali Overlook. HILINA PALI. It's two separate words, Helena Pali. And I'm probably saying it wrong because I say all the Hawaiian words wrong, and a lot of English words wrong too. But this place used to be accessible by vehicle. You could get to the overlook and park your car at the overlook. So the overlook's about 5 miles from the campsite. Okay. But now, because the road collapsed and there's parts of the earth that have cracked open, and basically there's hollow spots underneath the road in certain areas, they have closed the road from about the campsite all the way down to the overlook, which is about 5 miles. So that's added an additional 5 miles to this trail that used to not be there. Or it was there, but you used to not have to do it on foot. You would just park, and then I think it's like maybe like 2 or 3 miles down to the Ka'aha, the end of the little piece of the trail that we were on. If you look on the map, you'll see that this thing kind of like triangulates, and you can hike all over this kind of southeastern kind of flank area. And it's really beautiful out there. It can be daunting, especially at night, because the terrain looks very similar in all directions. It's hard to see landmarks at night. So even the trail markers, the cairns, it's very hard to distinguish those from like little outcroppings that are a natural byproduct of the lava flows. And but the whole day going down, so the first 5 miles, nothing real significant. It was just down a paved road on foot, and we got to this little overlook, and it's got a shelter with a picnic table, and there's an outhouse there. And so we kind of did what we needed to do, took a little rest at that point, and then we descended down this ridge, which is incredibly steep, single track. Like I mentioned before, parts of the edge of this thing are cracked, so like they're coming undone. Eventually they'll fall off of the side of this ridge and no longer be a part of it. I don't know how long that process will actually take. I'm assuming it will take a while because the trail is still open, but you never know. A 5.0 earthquake could easily make this whole trail system collapse on that ridge. So it is a little bit risky. It's definitely something that you think about while you're up there, because it's not a situation where you can duck or run for cover or anything. You're kind of just in that situation if it does occur. But like I told my coworker, it's good to be scared sometimes. It's good to think about those things, and it's good to get outside of your comfort zone. It's not good if those bad things actually happen necessarily. I'm not saying that. I don't want there to be an earthquake. I don't want rock slide to come after me. But, you can't live your life in fear of those kinds of things happening, or else you'll just stay inside all the time and never get to do anything. So, anyways, we rested for a while at Helena Poly Overlook. Everybody's fine. We are descending down this elevation, about 3,500 feet on single track. That kind of switches, but not really. It's more or less straight down and pretty scary. There's places where big rocks have fallen over the trail. So what was single track is now a rock climbing activity or a bouldering activity to get over these rocks and then back onto the trail. And I kind of overblew that for dramatic purposes. It's not like full on bouldering, but you do have to kind of climb over some bigger rocks to get back on just a place where there's not huge rocks obscuring the trail or blocking the trail. So as we're going down there, I think my son figured that he had hurt himself, his ankle, like rolled his ankle or whatever, and he was kind of complaining of that. And so as we got down to the bottom and then out to this long stretch of field, my son was kind of getting a little bit upset, and I think there were a couple times where he was actually shedding a tear. And so once I realized what was going on, I was pretty much in the front of the pack most of the time, and I would look back periodically just to make sure that everybody was still, okay, and everybody was still walking. I didn't want to create pressure for anybody. I wanted them to go at their own pace and not feel pressured to keep up with me. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that everybody was okay and stay close and definitely turn around and check on people. So I went back to see my son, and my wife's like, he's crying. Or I don't think she said he's crying. I think she said he's done. And, I have been where he is at before was the first thing that I thought, for him, this might as well be a journey to the ends of the earth. And I knew that probably he was not severely injured in any place. He more or less needed something to eat and needed some water to drink. And all of the water that I packed had scratch in it with some, electrolytes and a little bit of sugar, just to keep us all going and hydrated. But I went back and checked on him, and I looked at his ankle that was supposed to be giving him trouble. And I'm not saying that his ankle wasn't giving him trouble. He plays soccer too, so he may have rolled it before. It may have been like a prior injury that was what do you call it, compounded or worsened by maybe a twist of the ankle that occurred on while he was hiking. But so I looked at his ankle, and it wasn't swollen, and he was more frustrated than anything with the situation. I get it. You know, it's never my intention to take my son out and, make him do a forced march to Kingdom Coming Back. But at the same time, there's a sense of accomplishment that comes with completing these kinds of evolutions, and I definitely don't want to deny him of those feelings. And also, it's just that thing of where sometimes life does throw you curveballs, and it's not like we can just turn around and jump back up this ridge. We're out there in a place that, although mileage wise it's not that far from my vehicle, terrain wise it's a helicopter trip for sure if somebody is no longer able to hike and we can't carry them. So it's kind of, not to be dramatic, but it's serious business. And so at this point I would do another PSA and tell all the parents out there, it's good to, I think, in my opinion, it's good to expose children to these kinds of activities. Definitely don't make it into a forced march scenario where you're telling them to come on and hurry up and suck it up and, be a man or whatever. Don't turn it into that. Definitely make them be strong, as strong as they can be. And I would say if you can't do this type of thing or you don't have experience doing this kind of thing, definitely don't set out on a trail like Helena Poly as your first try with your child too. Don't put your life and their life in danger, because you have to kind of be accustomed and know the signs and symptoms of some things, and how to remedy those. And if you don't know what a person looks like when they just need some food or something simple, some more water, maybe just a little bit of a rest, sometimes that can lead to frustration, because if you don't give them those things, they just tend to get grumpier and less able to push on. So that can lead to frustration. But if you know what you're looking at, if you've been to that place before yourself, then you recognize the issue and you're able to fix it if it's something simple like that. Even the ankle thing, I've been in those situations where things hurt, and that's what I told him. I said, son, when sometimes when I'm doing ultra, my whole body hurts, and I've got to just tell myself, let's keep, it hurts, but it's not life-threatening, and it's not going to hurt when you stop. There's a difference, I think, between running on like a broken leg and then running on something that's like soft tissue injury, or maybe nothing at all, maybe a figment of your imagination, maybe your body protesting and trying to make you stop before you actually need to. I think there's like a 60-40 rule. Like if you think you're 100% done, you're really only 60% done, so you've still got 40% left. I think that's true. I've realized that in my own endeavors. But so the point of this all is that it did end up being a situation where number one, I think he needed some food, something to get his blood sugar up, and then number two is a little bit of water, a little bit of hydration, because it was quite sunny that day. You couldn't have picked a better day to do this hike. It was sunny the whole day, and no rain. The only thing that would have made it better would have been a little bit more cloud cover, because the sun in that area is very strong. You can get sunburn and 30 minutes, 30 to 60 minutes, if you're not careful. All of us had sunscreen on. I think my coworker still got pretty burn on her legs because she was wearing shorts. But yeah, so kind of intense sun. You definitely don't think about it as much with the wind blowing because you get all that convection, and you just don't think about, there's a huge hot sun burning me right now and I'm super thirsty. I might be getting too hot or too dehydrated or whatever because you got this wind blowing in your face. So it's counterintuitive. But anyways, so he ate something. He got the other thing that it was just he needed some guidance. He needed to understand like why he was feeling the way that he was feeling. So I tried to explain it to him the best way that I could, and that I had been through similar things, and I try not to be like, I've been through it, that means you can get through it. I try not to be that way because I understand, he's different. Everybody's different. People have different ways of coping with things. People's bodies have different limitations. And he's a child. I definitely don't want to like damage his ego. I don't want to damage his the way that he views outdoor activities. I don't want to give him a complex. So I'm not trying to like force him to do stuff, but at the same time I'm letting him know, hey, this has happened to me a lot of times. This is what's going on. You need food, you need water, you need to take a break. You can do this. I've been in pain before, kind of similar to what you're experiencing, and it doesn't always get worse. Sometimes it actually does get better. Sometimes it's your body, your mind, or whatever, playing a little trick on you, and you have to kind of push through that. And then once your body knows that you're pushing through, it gets back with the program. So a lot of times that's what's needed. So short story long, he comes out of it, he's fine, and matter of fact, he's so fine that on the way back, the whole entire way back, he is the head of everybody. He hikes back. Well, that's kind of a fib. He wasn't in front for the whole way back. So as we're walking back from Ka'aha towards the ascent, I guess we'll call it, he was in normal place, somewhere between me and the last person that was hiking with us. Once we got to the ascent, he took the lead, and he was in the lead for a long time, all the way up to the overlook, and then for a good portion of the paved road back to the truck. So watching that happen, watching him transform from being miserable to being happy to be there, that was the payoff. And it's kind of a gamble. I didn't know going into it if that's what would happen. There's a very good possibility that maybe he was done. Maybe the food wouldn't help. Maybe he was injured, and I lack the skill and experience to identify that. That could have been a possible outcome too. But seeing that wasn't the case, and seeing him kind of brave the ascent back up, and kind of power through the rest of the hike, that really made me feel good. It was kind of a proud dad moment for sure. Maybe brought a little bit of a moisture to my eye, and so I ended up, after the hike, I had an old 920 XT that I was wearing, and the barometer went. I wore it for a long time, but the barometer went out on it, so I couldn't get elevation readings anymore, and it was kind of a thing where, fixing it versus just getting the next big thing that was out at the time. I just went with the next big thing and kind of saved that one because it still works, but it just doesn't register the elevation. So I had found that in a box while I was getting everything ready, and I ended up giving that to him because I was so proud of him for making such a good effort on the way back. Yeah, but I kind of diverted, or not diverted, but I kind of went off on a tangent there. But so we were able to make it back up the hill. And hang on a minute, I just need to make sure that I'm still recording here. Something happened with GarageBand and the little thing's not moving no more. So I'm just wondering if did I make it all the way to the end of GarageBand? Is that a thing that you can actually do? Nah, I think what it is the track just got really, really, really big. But anyway, so yeah, we all made it back safe and sound. It was a beautiful day. It was a glorious day. Go on to Google Maps or All Trails or whatever. Look up Helena Poly Trail. I would suggest, if you're gonna try that one, go on a day where you check the weather really good. It doesn't look like there's a possibility of, thunderstorms or rain or whatever, and take a big party with you. Like 4 people or so. It'll be a lot more fun that way. It's a haunting place to be by yourself, and I think even with 2 people, it's kind of a daunting and also kind of a spooky place to be by yourself. But it's spooky cool. There's these huge fields of grass just flowing in the wind, beautiful vista looking out over the Pacific as far as you can see in any direction. It's hard for me to even put it into words, what this looks like. You immediately recognize your smallness in the world. Like the scenery is so big. It's one of the best views probably on the island. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's one of those things that a lot of people don't get to see because they are, busy looking at things that are easily accessible off the paved roads. And that's not a knock on them. It's just I get it. Like you come on vacation and you're trying to see as much as you can in a limited amount of time, and this one probably doesn't make the cut so much anymore because of the additional 5 miles that were added on that you'd have to be on foot down to even get to the overlook. But it was a beautiful day. My coworker, I think, who I don't really know her life, so I don't want to keep saying that she's having a rough time, but I think it was not optimal, and I think going on the hike maybe helped her to have a little bit of escape and also to get some clarity for her own self. And I mean, at the end of it, she was saying that she would like to be invited for more of them. So, that's good news to me. And if people are feeling good, then I'm feeling good. So it was a good outcome all the way around. So I was super stoked about that. I was super bummed on Monday when I had to go back to work because the uh, the difference between um, doing stuff like that. I really enjoy just being out there and enjoying the silence a little bit, and then also enjoying the parts where you're, you know, just having some miscellaneous conversation about nothing um, with your friends uh, and I guess acquaintances. Uh, Getting to have those experiences with my son, and then also, my wife was kind of the unsung hero of the day. She didn't say much through the whole thing, but she made it up and down everything that everybody else did. So, in my from my perspective, I think everybody that went down and came back up without an injury, death, loss of limb, a whimper, those are all heroes to me, because nothing beats getting back to the truck and then having something to eat, having all the water you can drink out of the jug, and sitting in that heater felt great because it was chilly. By the time we got back, it was like around, I think it was like around 5 or 6 p.m. and the wind was blowing. It was chilly back at the truck. So getting to sit in that heated vehicle and then have a ride home, get that shower, and put the slippers on, turn on the TV, eat some pizza, that stuff all feels great. It feels way better when you had a hard day. You got out and you feel like you did something, and that could be going on a hike, or that could be work, or that could be doing your runs, or you could be running an ultra, or you could be, running a 5K, or you could be doing anything. You could be doing burpees like my buddy. Everything feels better when you've done some hard work before it. So there's that. I think those 3 experiences combined, and then the cherry on the top was seeing Willie Half Nelson getting to throw some jerky at her and let her peck that up. I'm thinking one of these days I'm going to try to catch Willie Half Nelson and just get a chicken coop and let her live in my backyard. But, we'll see. I don't know if she's anybody else's chicken. I just know that she runs around that area, and I don't think so. She looks awful skinny, but I digress. So a couple things that I want to talk about. While I was on this hike, I got some blisters, and I think it was because I had some little gravel in my shoe. I had stepped in some mud, and then the mud, you don't really realize that it's got gravel in it, and then it dries, and then next thing you know, you got gravel in your shoes. And so I had gone on a muddy run a couple days previous, and then shoes dried out. I put them on to go on this hike, and I had gravel on the bottom of my shoes. So it could have been that. I will say a lot of positive things about ultras. That's what I get. That's like the shoe that I wear. But I will say that I do still get blisters even wearing ultras, and part of that may be just lack of preparing my feet, or part of it could be just that I'm predisposed to having blisters, or maybe gravel in the bottom of my shoes perhaps, or it could be the shoes themselves. So when I say that I wear ultras, or when I say that I use anything, I'm not necessarily saying that it's the best thing in the world, and your feet or your body's gonna ride like a dream and you're never gonna have issues. That's not the case at all. You're always gonna have issues, especially if you're doing a long distance running event. It's almost mandatory that you'll have at least 9 or 10 different issues that come up that you're going to have to deal with. So a couple of tips. Having those blisters made me first think about blisters because I hadn't had any in a while. A couple tips for ultra runners: get your mind used to being in discomfort. So when you're running an ultra, that's not the same as going out on pavement and doing a marathon. It's not. It's in no way, shape, or form the same. You're going from a 2D type of surface to a very three-dimensional. There's levels to it. Like you're kicking rocks. You're having to raise your feet more to get over stumps and rocks, and you're going extreme uphill. You're scrambling. You're going extreme downhill. You're sliding. Mud, you name it. It's not the same as running on the road. That's not a slight against road runners. The only thing I can say about running on the road in general is I prefer not to do it, and it's because of cars. People just don't pay attention when they're driving. I know bikers, people on bikes get killed all the time. And I know of at least one runner that's died here on, I think it was here on Big Island in the last year. They were running, I think, on the road and got hit by a car that wasn't paying attention, or possibly it was drunk or something. So I don't like roads in general. And two, it makes your feet hurt so much more. I don't think it's good for you long term, but I'm also not a medical doctor, and I'm only 40 years old, so I may or may not know all there is to know in the world. So what was I gonna say? Oh, okay, yeah. So my first tip is to run trail. But as you're running trail, if you decide to progress to ultra, you're definitely going to have some aches and pains and some things that you're going to have to overcome. So the first thing I would recommend is proper foot care. So if you do get a blister, don't peel all the skin off directly after. If your blister is big enough, the last thing you're thinking of doing is touching it anyway. But you're going to want to leave those blisters intact at least for a couple days. You can drain the fluid out of it, but leave the skin on. Just stick a sterilized needle on the edge of the blister and kind of squeeze out some of the fluid. You can use moleskin to kind of tape around the blister and take pressure off of the center mass. And then also after a couple days have passed, you can debride or get rid of the blister skin once you've had a chance for the under layers of skin to kind of harden up and kind of take over. You can take off that kind of outer layer if you want, and then continue to put some kind of ointment on it, A&D ointment or something, and also you can keep using moleskin. Or you can do like I did and just leave it alone. If it's not that big of a blister and it's not getting infected, you can just leave it alone and it'll sort out itself. Sometimes your body will reabsorb the fluid and you don't have to drain it, and so that can work out too. If it does get infected, then you probably need to go see a physician just to make sure you're okay, especially if you live in subtropical or tropical climate where you could get things like cellulitis or a staph infection or something like that. You don't want to play around with those kind of things, but by and large you can treat a blister just like I just said. When you're running with blisters, you can there's really not much you can do. You can prepare beforehand by putting a bunch of Vaseline or bag balm. I started using bag balm. You can get it at CVS, and I think you can order it on Amazon. But I like that stuff. I'm not saying that it'll prevent you from getting blisters. I used it on my feet during the 100 miler that I did, and I still got blisters. So it's no guarantee, but it will keep things from rubbing as hard together. I guess it'll give a little bit of lubrication, like in between toes and on the bottoms of your feet. And also, a good sock will sometimes help. A thick sock. Belega makes some really good socks, and they even make thicker anti-blister socks for ultra runners. So look up Belega, and then always wear ultras. You can get a little bit bigger shoe if you think that the shoe is maybe causing the blisters because it's too tight. You can size up half size or a full size. What happens in ultras is that your foot continues to swell. So even though you may wear like me, like a 10.5, your foot may swell up to like 11.5, or possibly even more than that, just because of the edema, the swelling. So you can consider getting a bigger size shoe to wear for ultra events. Yeah, so that's it for blisters. The second big thing that I would recommend is if you're going to do an ultra, and it's kind of like I think even if you're experienced, definitely on a 100 miler, have a crew. Having a crew that were super engaged made all the difference in the world to me. The way that they became engaged was I had to kind of explain things. My first 100-mile ultra, I had a crew, and they were willing to help me, and I'm thankful for them to help me, and all that they did. The thing is, I didn't really know what to tell them to do because it was my first one, and I was in over my head for sure. So I had all these ideas of things, and I had no practical experience for any of these ideas. So the advice I was giving them, and telling them ways that they could help me, or I will be at this aid station at a certain time, it was totally based off of nothing, and it ended up not helping me at all, because I didn't know how to articulate to them like what they should do, or what I should do, because I didn't know myself. So that's no knock against them. I'm thankful that I had that crew, and they helped me a lot, and it was a good learning experience all the way around. Even though I didn't finish, I DNF'd, but yeah. So having an informed crew that you guys sit down and formulate a plan beforehand, and kind of have a mutual understanding of what's going to happen, what you need, and you're not gonna quit, and kind of explain, you're like, for me, I had to explain to my crew, hey, look, I still love you, even if at the end I'm saying a lot of mean things, and I'm not laughing and joking. That's not me. That's just me at the end of my rope, kind of. So just help me, and then I'll love you for the rest of my life, kind of thing. So there's that kind of personal, interpersonal hygiene, managing those expectations and that relationship part. And then there's also, like, hey, look, I don't want to quit no matter what. Don't let me quit. If I start talking about it, talk me out of it, that kind of thing. Letting them know so people that don't run a lot, that don't use, supplements or hydration mix or tailwind or something like that. They don't know what that stuff is. I mean, they're not stupid. They have a general idea, but they don't know how much you use, and they don't know how much you need, and they don't know, like, maybe sometimes you need a little extra scoop or something, you know. So you have to sit down and explain these things to your crew beforehand. Like, you can't expect to go out there and just tell them, you know, what to do or where stuff's located in your bag or, you know, whatever. So that's my second piece of advice. So you got the blisters, then you got to have a crew, and then you guys get together and, you know, get your ducks in a row, kind of, you know, have a game plan going into the event that you're doing. Let's see, what else can I give tonight? I need to start wrapping this up so I can get some sleep. But what's another tip? Get plenty of sleep. Yeah, definitely don't spend the night before an ultra. It doesn't matter if it's 50K or if it's a 50 miler or if it's 100 or whatever. Get you some sleep, you know. Go ahead and get as much sleep as you can. Because you're gonna probably be getting up early the next day. Don't procrastinate. Don't get all of your gear ready the night before. Like, don't stay up doing that. That's not the way to go into an ultra. Because again, I'm telling you, like, you might skate by through 50K, but you're not gonna skate by through a 50 miler or definitely not a 100 miler. Like, just trying to wing it, and unless you're superhuman. And there are some superhuman people that can do that. But in general, if you're listening to my podcast and you need my advice, probably you're not going to be that kind of person. So just make sure you prepare everything well ahead of time and kind of like start formulating out your, you know, your gear list, and make sure you get some sleep, you know, the week leading up to the event, and especially the night before. What else? Sorry, I'm yawning. It's pretty late. I think it's like, yeah, it's 11:39 here in the PM. Yeah, so I mean, that stuff's common sense. Also, so what I was saying, the point I was saying was, this is not like a road race. You're not going to feel good through the whole thing. You're going to need stuff. So don't just like show up with a single pair of shorts, a single pair of socks, and you know, like a single shirt or whatever. You're going to definitely need more socks. You're going to definitely need maybe a change of shorts. You're going to need all kinds of things. Make sure you don't come under prepared for the temperature, for the terrain, you know, whatever. Make sure you research a little bit at least, and don't just show up and think that you're going to wing it. You're not going to wing it. You're going to wing a DNF is what you're going to wing with that kind of with poor preparation. You don't have to nuke it, but you need to put some thought into it. And just, I've said it before, I'll say it again, get used to living in discomfort, because you're going to be uncomfortable. You're just going to have to make it through. You're going to have to hustle through, but you can do it. So because my brain is already starting to go to sleep, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this podcast up. Hopefully this one will save, and I won't have to do this over again. But I do want to do another podcast soon, and I want to give some more advice on ultra running, because I got a friend that is getting ready to do his first. He wisely chose to do a 50K for his first ultra. This is, I guess, his transition from marathons to doing trail ultras, and I think that the race that he chose was a good one, and I think that the distance that he chose makes sense, and that could be kind of the next tip, is to not try to overextend yourself. There's temptation there to let your hubris get the best of you and think, I run a marathon, so I could definitely run 4 marathons in a row. I feel pretty good about that. Or I could run 2 marathons in a row. Maybe you can, but maybe it's not what it seems. It's not as easy as just a simple calculation. But yeah, so I definitely want to give some more advice out. I just need to get some rest myself so that I can give the best advice that I can possibly give. But I'm going to wrap it up for now. Thanks everybody for listening. I'll be back soon. Take care. Make sure you wash your hands and do everything you need to do to stay free of coronavirus and the flu and all kinds of other ugly things that are going around out there. And I hope everybody stays healthy and get out and be active. And if you head over to runninthought.com, I've got I'm making posts, as time permits and as I'm able to think of things. I'm making posts, and then of course you can see all of my activity feed and all of the previous podcasts on runninthought.com. If you get a chance, head over to the shop and grab a t-shirt. I actually got one for myself, super comfortable, and those are coming from Teespring. They're a little bit more expensive, but they don't actually print the shirt until it's ordered, so it's kind of it saves me from having overhead, and also your purchase will benefit me and help me keep the podcast cost kind of minimized. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.